Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Crypto Chick Nicole here. This video will be on blockchain technology for beginners. So if you've never heard of blockchain technology before, this is exactly where you need to be. For those who have heard about blockchain technology, maybe done a little research, this will probably be a very easy review for you. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into blockchain technology, you have to understand how our current system is set up. So I'm going to dig into that first. So if two random strangers want to trade, let's say myself and let's say you, we probably don't know each other, and if we wanted to exchange goods for money, for example, we probably wouldn't trust each other enough to do so without technology or some other third party. So that's where our society has created these middleman positions, so that person A over here can trust and exchange items, goods, or assets with person B. We often call these middlemen intermediaries, and they are in place to be that third trusting party, that kind of link to bridge this gap, this lack of trust gap. So there's a couple problems with these middlemen positions, like banks, governments, big corporations. Well, the first problem is that they often take a large chunk out of that transaction just for simply transacting with another person. Some of these cuts can be very high percentages. The second problem is that it takes a lot of time. So let's give the example a bank. If person A in Canada is trying to send money to person B in Japan, this is going to take quite a bit of time to go through a bank, usually 3 to 4 days. It's not instant and is very, very slow process, where the bank has to first take the funds from person A, then verify that person B is who they claim to be, and then make the exchange between the two. The third problem is that these middlemen positions are oftentimes centralized, and that comes with a couple of different problems, but the main one is that it can be easily hacked because they store the logs of data of the transactions that have occurred into one location. They essentially store all the transaction information in one place, which makes it very easy for hackers to come in to the system and take what they need, or perhaps delete a couple files or input data for their own benefit. Another problem that we have with centralized system is that they are the sole holder of that information. Not only is that bad, but these middlemen sometimes share your own personal information with other parties that you probably don't want leaked out, and they have the ability to do so because they hold all the information in one place. So that's where blockchain technology comes into play, is to really fix these three problems: the fees, the amount of time it takes, and the problem of being centralized. So I'm going to go over what a ledger is, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't seem to understand this concept. I like to explain it as kind of a spreadsheet, like an Excel document. A lot of college students have an easier time relating to that because we haven't dealt with a ledger, but essentially it's just a spreadsheet of transactions recorded over time, usually having to do with money. So this is the document, hypothetically speaking, that the bank would hold, and no one else would have access to this spreadsheet. Blockchain technology, on the other hand, is decentralized, meaning they aren't the sole holders of this Excel spreadsheet or ledger. This ledger is actually sent across the world to all these different computer nodes. Understand that this information is now public. It's not stored in one location. So already we have eliminated the hacking aspect, and we have eliminated the ability for one company to share your information. And you may be wondering, well, isn't my information out there anyways? Isn't it public? Well, what's unique about the blockchain technology is that it's all encrypted. So your ledger would look a little bit like this, for example, where each transaction that occurs, it would only show the date and perhaps a little description, while oftentimes this is not present. And then the amount that's being sent through the blockchain. And instead of seeing who sent what you see is public and private keys that are encrypted, so it looks like a bunch of code. So it looks like a bunch of scrambles of letters and numbers put together. so that you cannot identify who is sending what at any given point in time. Every transaction that occurs is also time-stamped, so it helps prevent people from hacking. So let's say hypothetically that you were a hacker and you were trying to get into the system. If you want to hack into a decentralized ledger system such as the blockchain, you would have to hack into every single network simultaneously while doing it all in broad daylight, because every transaction can be seen at anyone at any given point in time. So this is theoretically possible, but even the best hackers on this planet today have not been able to come close to taking down this huge network. While a bank, on the other hand, all they have to do is break this one connection and it's game over, and then they have full power to do what they want to do. So let's say hypothetically that the hacker did hack into this one ledger system, and they went over to the ledger over here and they deleted this second line and completely deleted it out. What would happen is that these other 8 ledgers would still have that data in place, and these 8 would essentially say that's not right. These 8 ledgers would rule in majority and essentially kick out this other ledger and fix it so that all the ledgers are reading the same data at any given point in time. So I wanted to go a little bit into the keys and how your data is actually encrypted and where the name BlockChain comes from. So if you can imagine this first key back here, it has a mathematical equation, and on the blockchain it's not as simple as 3 plus 2. It's actually a very complicated algorithm. So there's these miners that have to go solve this equation right here, and it's a lot more complicated than this. It's usually a large algorithm that they have to solve, and a miner is just a computer sitting off to the side. These miners' main purpose is to be the first one to solve this equation, and if their computer is the first one to solve this equation, then they get rewarded with a little bit of digital currency, and let's just go with the example Bitcoin. This helps verify each one of these transactions, because you remember that they're each on one of these keys that's encrypted. So when it solves this equation, the miner then comes up with a new encryption code, like this one for example, that is unique to that particular transaction. Now the next key is about to be created, and it has to use the answer from the previous key. So once the miner has solved this equation here and gotten the answer 5, it begins the next transaction for the next miner to work on. It doesn't make any sense for the miner to go back and try to keep solving this equation. So these miners are competing to solve these algorithms as fast as they can, and this allows these transactions to occur really quickly, and the answer from the previous key gets inputted to the beginning of this new algorithm, or in this case a basic equation. So this creates a link between the two transactions, because if you were to manipulate information here, let's say we change that to an 8, 8 plus 2 is no longer 5, 8 plus 2 is 10, so now this transaction would have a hard time reading it, and that's how the blockchain technology verifies these transactions. So now these two keys are linked, and let's do the same process here. This new algorithm comes out, the miners rush in to solve it first. The answer to this is 11, and it starts the new transaction. So this key now is linked to this key. 11 starts the next transaction. 11 plus 7 is 18, and once that has been solved, this new transaction is linked. So this creates a chain of transactions that goes on ledger and continues down, that are all encrypted and secured. So it makes this system very trustworthy and very secure in order to transact from any two people from around the world. So in summary, blockchain technology takes out middlemen positions. In this case, we have a bank. Blockchain technology eliminates fees. This is done very cheap at fractions of the cost that it would cost a middleman position, using digital currencies that can be sent in minutes rather than days. And this saves a lot of time than multiple days or even weeks. So now I want to go into a little bit of how we can see this blockchain technology actually being used. There's quite a few different areas where it's relevant. I'll let you just look at this diagram on your own time, as well as this one that I thought was helpful. So I'm just going to talk here a little bit about some examples where I could see blockchain technology implemented into our society. The first example we've actually already seen today is the housing industry. So right now, if I were to purchase a house from a complete stranger, it usually would take about a month to go through all the paperwork and all the fees and go through the banks and the realtors, as well as making sure the inspection's up to par and that everything that was done on the inspection actually happened. And that's a big problem. Again, we have this lack of trust. And so, with blockchain technology being used, I can now make the same transaction of purchasing a house from a complete stranger within hours. And this may sound crazy, but it's actually already been done using Bitcoin. So now we've eliminated banks and we've eliminated this lack of trust, so this transaction is actually cheaper for both me and the person selling the house. And it's a lot more time efficient. We are also able to trust in blockchain technology to log and lock in our transaction before it occurs on both ends. We no longer have to worry about if the inspection for the new chimney replacement actually occurred, because if that replacement was placed on the blockchain, then we know for certain that that replacement had to have happened in order for the blockchain to continue on. My next example is in the food industry. So if you were shopping along, let's say maybe you eat organic, or this could be relevant if you eat, let's say you want to go purchase chicken and you want to make sure it's chicken meat and not rat meat in your food. There's a lot of uncertainty right now in our food market, and the solution is to trust these brand names, and quite honestly there's not much to trust. In terms of oranges, for example, in the organic industry, imagine going to a grocery store and picking up an orange that was backed upon blockchain technology. This means that you could essentially scan the orange, maybe with the barcode, with an app on your phone, and see every single transaction that that orange had gone through, from a seed to a tree to an orange, processing, transportation, and handling of how that particular orange got to be where it is today. And you can confirm this all within a little app on your phone that takes 2 seconds. And there's no major brand name, and the orange is a lot cheaper because it's built on blockchain technology, and we didn't have to go through some big brand name company to do it. We can just buy the oranges directly from the actual organic orange farmers. So if you imagine if only one orange company implemented blockchain technology into their product, well, why would you buy any other organic orange just because it says so on the sticker, when you can scan a barcode on your phone and look at every step of the orange from the seed till the moment it got to the grocery store? It only takes one company to do this before all the others will soon go out of business. My third example is the education system that's currently in place. A big reason why we have to go to these universities, and this one hits home for me as a college student. One of the reasons why we go to big established universities is to show that our degree is of importance. It's trustworthy, if you may. Obviously with that it comes with very high costs. Many students nowadays are drowning in debt of $20,000 loans, $40,000 loans, all the way up to some kids are graduating with $150,000 loans just to get that piece of paper that people can trust and look important. So imagine if you could get the same credentials through blockchain technology. If you could go to a class run by a professor that has already been accredited on the blockchain system, and they could give you a credit or a token to confirm that you have completed their class and you have the capability of performing any task within your degree. Think about the fees and time and energy that could cut out by itself. And a lot of this will happen over time, but some of it's happening right now. For example, our current paper currency, also known as fiat currency. This includes the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the euro, the peso, you name it. One of the issues we have with our currency is that we have no way to trade it over the internet. Well, in comes digital currencies, also known as cryptocurrencies. And the idea of digital currencies is actually not a new one. It's been around since the 1970s, but the problem with it is that there's this double spend notion. We've really seen how blockchain technology can affect our economy right now, and it already is. So blockchain technology, having everything on a secure ledger, is fixing this double spend issue, where if I had $100 of digital coin and sent it to Sally, why couldn't I take the same $100 coin, $100 worth of money, and send it to Bob? And how would we know that I had already spent the $100? Well, having this blockchain technology, digital currencies built upon the blockchain, is now securing that these transactions can only happen one at a time. We essentially eliminate this double spend problem, which is why we are now seeing the rise of cryptocurrencies, especially this past couple years, as people are realizing how quick, how cheap, and how easy it is to send money to anyone and anywhere around the world instantly without going through these middlemen. So I want to end with this. When the internet first came out, no one understood the power and the capability it would give us, but it affected every single industry you can think of. And I truly and wholeheartedly believe that blockchain technology is going to do the same thing. So with that, I hope you guys dig into this a little deeper, and I will potentially post another video more in-depth on the technical analysis of how this actually works. Do note that this was just a conceptual educational video for those who have never heard of this before. And I want to thank you guys all for watching this video, and best of luck learning this new space with me. If you have any questions or suggestions for my next video, please leave them in the comment section below. I love reading your comments, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you for watching another video from Crypto Chick Nicole.